What's going on, everybody? Today we got a brand new tactic that is a bit different from any of them that I have made. Today we're going with a 3 defensive mid formation in a 4-3-3 that is very overpowered when it comes to creativity and goal scoring threats from late arriving defensive midfielders. So needless to say, this tactic scores boatloads on boatloads of goals. So if you wish to download this tactic, I'll be linking my Discord down below in the description. That is where you're going to be able to download today's tactic from. But now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So for today's tactic, I decided to test with 2 Premier League sides. I decided to test with Manchester City as well as Aston Villa. The main reason why I decided to test with both of them is due to the amount of midfielders that they have that can all play defensive midfield. So, how did Manchester City end up doing? They ended up winning the league on 105 points, only losing 1 game, which somehow was a 2-1 loss to Wolves. And they were 4 goals away from tying the best Premier League defensive record ever, which was only conceding 15 goals. When it came to other competitions, they won everything possible except for the Carabao Cup. They were runners up to Liverpool, but they made up for that loss with the Carabao Cup by winning the Club World Cup. So they ended up going 6 for 7 when it came to trophies. Now for Aston Villa, how did they end up doing in the league? They ended up finishing in second, 3 points off of Man City within their test, and they actually scored more goals than Manchester City as well. So if they had gotten 1 more win, they would have won the league, which would have been absolutely insane. Unfortunately, they dropped to West Ham, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, and Tottenham. So I mean, some pretty decent clubs they ended up losing to. So probably if they could have gotten some draws, especially the 2 against Bournemouth, they probably could have won the league. But they did win one thing, and that was the Europa Conference League, which they ended up winning over West Ham United. Now, player performance-wise, you're going to see some pretty fun numbers from some pretty fun players. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the Segundo Volantes, those are the late-arriving defensive midfielders within this tactic, they go bonkers in this tactic. So at Aston Villa, Ali Watkins led the way with 31 goals, Moussa Diaby with 24, but Douglas Luiz, who was the right Segundo Volante, had 21 goals. Zaniolo was up there with Diaby and Watkins, he had 15, and John McGinn was the other Segundo Volante, he had 14. Mr. Jacob Ramsey and Zaniolo were the ones kind of swapping out for each other, he ended up with 13. But when it came to the assists, both Segundo Volantes also had a pretty decent amount of assists. Mr. John McGinn almost had 30. He had 28 of them. Moussa Diaby with 19, Luiz with 16, and Ramsey with 11. When it came to Manchester City, they put up some pretty impressive numbers as well, especially the robot named Erling Haaland. He ended up with 72 goals. So if you have a prolific goal scorer like Erling Haaland, they're going to bag you loads of goals. But Kevin De Bruyne, who played as one of those Segundo Volantes, he had 19 goals. He had Bernardo Silva with 17, Stones with 17, as he would slot in as a Segundo Volante quite a bit. Julian Alvarez with 13, Rodri with 12, and Jack Grealish with 11. Then when it comes to assists, Grealish led the way with 17, along with Kevin De Bruyne. They were both on 17. Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden both with 16. Rodri with 15, John Stones with 12, Nunez with 11. Gomez and Kyle Walker, they play as inverted wingbacks, they both had 10. So notice how I've been talking about those Segundo Volantes. They are obviously the late arrivers that create a lot of goal scoring opportunities for this side. But being that they are going to be moving up, they have a ball winning midfielder with them. And to kind of make sure that there's still 3 in midfield, I have inverted wingbacks. So how does this work? Let's break it down right now. So this is how the tactic sets up. Advance forward up top, 2 wingers. You got 2 Segundo Volantes, both are on attack. 1 ball winning midfielder, 2 inverted wingbacks, they're both on support, ball playing defenders, and a sweeper keeper. So how does this work in the build-up? Because this is where you really see a lot of the interchangeability with this tactic, to where a bunch of different roles can kind of make up for others when they are moving up to attack. The advance forward is going to stay up. You have the wingers supplying that width because the Segunda Volantes are going to be coming up, who will either stay on the edge of the box or work their way into the box. The ball-winning midfielder is going to sag off a little bit from them. The inverted wingbacks are also going to be around that ball-winning midfielder, with those ball-playing defenders coming up as well. What is awesome about the ball-playing defenders is that sometimes you might get something like this instead. So normally it's the ball-playing defender, inverted wingback, Segunda Volante. But sometimes if a ball-playing defender is feeling aggressive enough, and your players are smart enough to know, okay, we need to kind of change who is where, the inverted wingback will sag off, or even the Segunda Volante, and then which one isn't sagging off will be with the ball-winning midfielder, which allows that ball-playing defender to then go on the attack. Which is why John Stones had so many darn goals as a center back, because he was playing as a ball-playing defender or a Segunda Volante. So he got those opportunities from both of those roles with how they operate. But what is awesome about the Segunda Volante, and we noticed it in the last tactic that I made, which I will be linking at the end of the video if you guys wish to check it out, the Segunda Volante isn't just all about kind of like a box-to-box midfielder type role going from box to box. They can drift out wide too because they're very smart players, so the winger will be able to cut inside. Or if the inverted wingback wants to go on a run for a goal, they can switch up like this. The interchangeability between these three roles is absolutely fantastic, and we already saw that even the ball-playing defender can get involved as well. So this tactic, very, very creative, and also very, very attacking. So you're going to score boatloads of goals, you're going to get a ton of assists. This is a tactic definitely geared towards a side that has some pretty good ability within it. So if you're looking for a tactic like this is perfect for you. Now, before we get into the FM tactic side of things, where I kind of show the player instructions, all that good stuff, we're going to go over a bit of analysis. We're going to start with some Aston Villa games in the 2D match engine so you can kind of see all the magic at work from kind of an overhead perspective. The first match I'm going to be showing you guys is a 4-0 win by Aston Villa over Nottingham Forest within the Prem. The main thing I want you guys to kind of key on with this match is the Segunda Volantes. You're going to see John McGinn and Douglas Luiz contributing in big ways, which John McGinn is number 7 right here, and Douglas Luiz is number 6. So make sure to key in on those two numbers and players. So what we saw from that overview right there was absolutely fantastic, especially the Douglas Luiz goal, which was the third goal which we saw, where he made that late run. They were looking repeatedly for the late run, originally looking for it from John McGinn, but then they ended up picking out Douglas Luiz, who ended up slotting home a goal, which John McGinn and Douglas Luiz ended up exploiting the late arriving runs, just 4 minutes apart from each other, as they both scored in that match. So this next match is the Europa Conference semi-final against Fiorentina. They ended up beating them 6-0 on aggregate, absolutely dominating them 3-0 in both games. But in this game, you're going to want to key in on the wingers and Mr. Nicolo Zaniolo as well as Moussa Diaby. They were both absolutely fantastic in this game, scored all 3 goals. But once again, with this match, make sure to keep an eye on those Segunda Volantes, which are once again Douglas Luiz and John McGinn. Now, one thing that was evident in those highlights is the width that the wingers supply, whether it was Diaby, whether it was Zaniolo, or even Mr. Ramsey. But with those Segundo Volantes, once again, those late arriving runs create some big time goal scoring opportunities, because last time they turned goal scorer, this time they turned assist man. Which, when you have players in a role that can do both, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, this next highlight is going to be within the 3D match engine. We're going to be showing off how Man City performs with this tactic. They end up beating Fulham 5-0 within this as well, and you get goals from all areas of the side: the striker, inverted wingbacks, Segundo Volantes, and wingers, which showcases just how versatile this tactic is, to where basically anyone in your side will potentially be able to score a goal. And right there we see, when you have an elite side, how good and beautiful this tactic plays out within the match engine and helps your side just outright dominate your opponent. But now that we've gone over all that good stuff, let's go ahead and get into the tactic on the FM side of things. Alright, so when it comes to downloading the tactic, the founding that you're going to be looking for is Gormy's 433 Blue Moon within the download section of the Discord. And now that we're here on FM, we can break down these rules fully, and with the player instructions, we've got an advanced forward on attack up top, 2 wingers on attack, 2 Segundo Volantes on attack with a ball-winning midfielder on support in between them. You then have 2 inverted wingbacks on support, 2 ball-playing defenders on defend, and a sweep keeper on defend. The advanced forward on attack was left as is. Both wingers on attack have crosses aimed at center, shoot more often, and tackle harder. Both Segundo Volantes on attack have move in the channels and tackle harder. The ball-winning midfielder on support was left as is. Both inverted wingbacks on support have tackle harder. Both ball-playing defenders on defend were left as is. And the sweep keeper on defend was left unchanged as well. So when it comes to mentality, it is played with an attacking mentality because it is a very attacking goal machine type tactic. Now when it comes to being in possession of the ball, we have fairly wide attacking width. We're looking for the underlaps on the left and the right, not only for those Segundo Volantes who are arriving late, but also for those inverted wingbacks if they wish to make those runs as well. Play out from the defense, work the ball into the box, low crosses in the final third, shorter passing directness, and slightly higher tempo. When in transition, we counter press and counter and distribute to the fullbacks and center backs. And when out of possession, we have a high press line of engagement, higher defensive line, and more often trigger press. Now this tactic, I would suggest it being used with those mid-table or upper echelon type sides. If you are a relegation candidate type side, you will have to make some tweaks, which I will get into in a moment. But this tactic, if you are looking for a tactic that you can definitely use at least within Europe to kind of get you over that hump to where you're using one tactic within the league, one within Europe to help you win either the Conference League, Europa League, or the Champions League, this is definitely going to be that tactic because of how many assists and goals you're going to be getting out of it. Plus, if you have a pretty strong defense, as we saw with Manchester City, you're not going to concede a whole lot of goals. But now with those tweaks, what are the tweaks that I would make to this tactic for those of you who might be managing relegation type sides or needing a tactic that can help you get a boatload of goals to survive, but also make sure that you aren't risking a whole lot as well and making sure that you're a little bit more defensively stronger? There is one key change that I would make for that, and that is changing these Segundo Volantes from on attack to on support, because they're not going to get further forward as much as they were, because we saw in those highlights, John McGinn and Douglas Luiz, half the time they were already up around the box area looking to make that run, But if you put on support, yes, they're still going to be getting up there, making those late runs, but they're going to be smarter and a little bit more safer about it. So if you're one of those relegation type sides, definitely try the Segundo Volante on support instead of attack. And in doing so, you'll be taking it from attacking down to balanced for the mentality. But there we have it for today's tactic, my 4-3-3 Blue Moon. Absolutely fantastic tactic to utilize and watch as well. If you're looking for major goal scoring output, major assist output as well within your side, especially if you have some very creative defensive midfielders that can be utilized as Segundo Volantes, this tactic is perfect for you. But like I said earlier in the video, if you guys wish to give this tactic a go for yourselves and you wish to download it, I'll be linking my Discord down below in the description for you guys to download the tactic from. It will be within the download section. So if you have enjoyed today's video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing is 100% free, so why not hit that sub button. Up on screen right now, I'll be popping up my most recent tactic, which was a 3-striker tactic that is absolutely ridiculous as well. So if you want a 3-striker tactic, definitely make sure to check that out. But until next time, everyone, have a good one. Bye-bye.